A few years back, I started buying gold when it was cheap, because one of the sharpest strategists on Wall Street had convinced me it was about to run. I bought it a little at a time, about 20 ounces, somewhere around $19,000 all in. People I knew thought I'd lost it. Gold just sits there, they said. It doesn't do anything. That gold has since roughly quadrupled. But being right about the gold is not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you because the man whose thinking put me into that trade wasn't a gold bug or a doomsday guy. He was a Wall Street insider, a former advisor to the US Treasury, and in 2022, he wrote a short paper that landed like a bomb in every trading desk in the world. In it, he explained why gold was about to matter again, and then he named the thing that comes after gold. Today, I'm going to walk you through that paper, because once you understand what he saw, you'll understand the single most important shift happening to money in your lifetime, and where a saver is supposed to stand while it happens. The man is named Zoltan Pozsar. I want you to know who he is before I tell you what he said, because the whole thing rests on him being a serious person, not a crank. Pozsar was a strategist at Credit Suisse, one of the biggest banks in the world. Before that, he advised the US Treasury Department. He worked with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York during the 2008 crisis. He's the guy who famously mapped out the shadow banking system, the hidden plumbing of global finance, so thoroughly that the Fed used his diagrams. This is not a man selling gold coins on late night TV. This is one of the most respected insiders in the entire system, and when he writes, the people who move trillions of dollars stop and read. In March of 2022, what he wrote was that the monetary world we've all lived in our whole lives was ending. To understand him, you need one piece of history, and I'll make it painless. Back in 1944, near the end of World War II, the world's governments met in a town called Bretton Woods and agreed on how money would work. The deal was simple. The US dollar was backed by gold. You could turn dollars in for actual metal, and every other currency was pegged to the dollar. Money was anchored to something real. Pozsar calls that era Bretton Woods 1. Then in 1971, President Nixon ended it. He closed the gold window. No more turning dollars in for gold. From that day on, the dollar was backed by nothing but the promise and power of the US government. Pure paper. Pozsar calls that Bretton Woods 2, and we've lived in it for 50 years. He has a name for this kind of money. Inside money. Money that's really just somebody's IOU inside the financial system. A dollar, a bond, an entry on a bank's books. It only has value because everyone agrees to honor the promise. Here's the analogy that makes it click. Inside money is like poker chips at a casino. They're worth something as long as you're in that casino and the house is good for them. Outside money, gold, commodities, real things, is like having cash in your pocket. It doesn't need the casino to honor anything. It's worth what it's worth, no matter whose table you're at or whether the house likes you. For 50 years, the whole world kept its savings in the casino's chips. Pozar's paper is about the moment the world started to wonder whether it should. I keep a plain English breakdown of inside money versus outside money and where your own savings actually sit on my site, and I'll point you to it in a minute. Stay with the paper because the turning point he identified is the important part. Here's what set Pozar off. In early 2022, after Russia invaded Ukraine, the Western governments did something that had never been done at that scale. They froze Russia's money. Hundreds of billions of dollars of Russia's central bank reserves sitting in Western banks just switched off. Gone. Inaccessible. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want about Russia. That's not the point, and it's not why this matters to you. The point is what it proved, and Pozar saw it instantly. It proved that inside money isn't really yours. Those reserves were dollars and bonds, the safest inside money on earth, held by a national government, and they were switched off with a keystroke. The casino took the chips off the table. And Pozar's argument was this. Every other country on earth was watching. And every one of them just learned that if your reserves are somebody else's IOU, they can be frozen the day you fall out of favor. So the smart money, nations, central banks, is going to start quietly moving out of inside money and into outside money. Gold, commodities, things that can't be frozen because nobody has to honor a promise to make them worth something. He wrote that we were witnessing the birth of what he called Bretton Woods III, a new monetary order backed not by gold and not by paper, but by outside money. And he wrote a line I haven't forgotten. After this war is over, money will never be the same again. Now, here is why this isn't a geopolitics lecture, why it's about the dollars in your account. Because the exact same truth Pozsar spotted at the level of nations is true at the level of you. Everything you own that is inside money, your dollars, your bank balance, your bonds, is somebody's IOU, and it can be switched off, frozen, or quietly diluted by the people who issue it. We spent 5 episodes proving the diluted part. The machine has to print, so your dollars have to lose value. Pozsar just added the other half at the highest level in the world. It can also simply be frozen. Inside money is a promise, and a promise can be broken by whoever made it, whenever they decide you're the problem. And here's the tell you should not ignore. Since that freeze, central banks, the very institutions that run the inside money system, have been buying gold at the fastest pace in decades. Read that again. The people who print the paper are themselves rushing into the thing that can't be printed or frozen. When the casino's own managers start quietly stuffing real cash in their pockets, the ordinary player might want to ask why. That's not me being dramatic. That's just watching where the smart money moves its own savings. So let me give you my honest read after 17 years inside this system and years of chewing on Pozsar's paper. The dollar is not going to die. Don't let anyone sell you the collapse fantasy. There is too much of the world's wealth denominated in dollars for it to just vanish. It's the water we all swim in. But that's the wrong thing to watch. The right thing to watch is this. The asset that backs real power is changing. It's shifting from inside money to outside money. And in a shift like that, the rule is brutally simple. Whoever holds more of the new outside money comes out with more power. And whoever's still holding only the old inside money comes out with less. That's it. That's the whole game Pozsar was describing, and it's playing out right now. Now, a lot of people hear outside money and think, real estate. I used to be one of them. I believed in real estate my whole life. I have to tell you honestly, it's the wrong answer. And it's the wrong answer for a reason that's going to make you uncomfortable. So I'm giving it its own episode later. For now, your house is the most freezable, most encumbered, most seizable big asset you can own. It sits in a government registry. It cannot leave. It is not the escape it feels like. Hold that thought. Which brings us to the part of Pozsar's paper almost nobody talks about. In that same note, the one that shook Wall Street, he wrote that Bitcoin, if it still exists, would probably benefit from all of this. Think about why a man like that would drop Bitcoin into a paper about gold and commodities and national reserves. Because Bitcoin is the purest outside money ever created. It is the one thing that took gold's single great virtue, nobody can print more of it, and fixed everything gold is bad at. Gold is heavy. Gold can be confiscated. The US did exactly that in 1933. You can't send gold across a border in your head or verify it in 10 minutes. Bitcoin is outside money you can hold in your memory, move across the planet in minutes, and that no government can freeze the way they froze those reserves, because there's no bank in the middle holding it for you. 21 million, no issuer, no casino, no promise to break. Everything Pozsar said the world is fleeing toward. Unprintable, unfreezable, outside the system. Bitcoin is the most complete version of. Gold was the first draft of outside money. Bitcoin is the final one. And the insider who called the whole shift, the man whose thinking put me into gold before it quadrupled, named it himself, right there in the paper. That breakdown I mentioned, inside money versus outside money, where your savings sit, and how gold and Bitcoin actually compare as the exit, it's at timtalksfinance.com/members in plain language. It's part of the membership. I built it because most savers have never once been told that their safe money is inside money that can be frozen or diluted. And once you see your savings sorted into that column, you can't look at the word safe the same way. I'm not telling you gold quadruples again. And I'm certainly not telling you what Bitcoin's price does next quarter. Nobody knows. What I'm handing you is the read of one of the most respected insiders in the world, confirmed by what the central banks are actually doing with their own money. The ground is shifting from inside money to outside money, and the people who see it early tend to keep what they built. You get to weigh how much of your savings belongs on each side of that line. That's a probability, not a promise. I just don't want you to be the last one holding only chips when the smart money's already pocketed the cash. So that gold I bought when everyone thought I was crazy. The reason it ran isn't luck, and it isn't really about gold. It's that the smartest people in the system quietly started admitting that inside money, the paper, the promises, the IOUs, isn't as safe as they told you, because it can be frozen or printed away at will. And the world began the slow walk toward money that can't be either. Gold was the first step, but the purest version of what they're all running toward, outside money with no issuer, no vault to raid, no border to stop it, and a hard cap of 21 million, is Bitcoin. The insider who saw the whole thing coming said so himself. The breakdown's at timtalksfinance.com/members. Next episode, I'll tell you the most embarrassing and most profitable thing I ever did. I bought Bitcoin in 2015, forgot I owned it, and didn't remember until 2020. And why that story might be the most important one for a saver in this whole series. I'm Tim. I'll see you there.